As I journeyed out of the deserts of the Anarok and later sailed on a modest merchant caravel to the islands of the Moonshays, I just happened to have the misfortune to encounter not one but two giant spitting snakes. The first of them was a dark-scaled horror that took out one of our mules as we stopped during the heat of midday by a stand of palm trees. We had no idea it was there thanks to the thing almost merging with the rough trunks of the palm trees. It ignored me and the Bedouin traders I was travelling with. We just saw a flash of movement, a quick jet of venom lanced out and hit the mule right in the face, and the moment it stumbled, it was all over. The snake was latched on and hauled it into the palms so fast, there was nothing we could do but try to calm the horses we were on and then gather up what bags and gear had flown free of the poor mule in its sudden and violent demise. If you've ever read Elminster's Ecologies, he describes a very important point about the diversity of life in the Forgotten Realms, and I quote, "A rabbit isn't always a rabbit. A rabbit from one region doesn't necessarily behave like a rabbit from another, even though they may look alike. I discovered a rabbit in the Hullock forest that sleeps on its back, its feet straight in the air. A species from Harrowdale can rotate its eyes in opposite directions. I've heard of a rabbit from Brynwood that not only whistles like a canary, but can be taught an impressive repertoire of tunes. A hippogriff from the Dragonspire Mountains may be docile, even passive, while its cousin from Ring's Reach may quickly take offence. It's often impossible to make these distinctions from casual observations. As in the case of the excitable hippogriff, experience can be a cruel teacher. The physical form of an animal can also vary dramatically from region to region. The pseudo-dragon presents a striking example. They always have the same mannerisms and attitudes, but their appearance differs from region to region. Giant snakes in the realms are apex predators, but not always interested in eating humanoids, or as is the case of the rough-scaled boa of the Stonelands, they have a very specific diet for goblins. Still, snakes are true carnivores. If need be, they can eat any meat they can get, and they're very good at getting it. On Earth, the closest thing there has ever been to the giant snakes of planet Toril are the titanoboas. Like most giant snakes, aside from the giant coral snakes of the Forgotten Realms, they have the same number of vertebrae as their smaller cousins, so fossil samples of the huge vertebra can tell a lot about the true size of the creature when they were alive. So, adding in some details from a few skulls found in South America, we know that titanoboas reached up to 47 feet, or 14.3 meters long, and a body just over 4 feet wide, and weighing in excess of 1,700 pounds or 770 kilograms. And the fact that a number of these fossils were of a similar size means it's highly likely this was the regular size for the species. And some were no doubt freakishly large in that population. I would wager good gold coin on it. As for the giant snakes of the Forgotten Realms, there is also a fairly standard size. As I mentioned, some, like the giant coral snake, can even be longer, leading to them often being mistaken for sea serpents, which are quite a different species altogether. Within the large variety of giant snakes to be found, they can be broadly divided into the giant constrictor snakes, the poisonous snakes, the sea snakes and the spitting snakes, and the amphisbaena, which is unique to Toril with nothing like it ever existing on Earth. More on them in a moment. Giant snakes differ from the largest of their smaller cousins, the boa constrictors, in that they have a larger number of fangs in their mouths and they are not as firmly connected to the jawbone. Also, they're not nearly as reliant on the ambient temperature being as tropical as that found during the Middle and Late Paleocene or in South American jungles and such. An average temperature of 32 to 33 degrees Celsius or 90 to 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and plenty of rainfall is mainly what allows them to grow to such a large size, with all the snakes getting smaller and smaller as the temperature decreases further from the tropics. Giant snakes of Toril don't have that same limitation. You can find 40 feet long poisonous snakes hunting mountain goats even in high alpine zones of many mountain ranges across Faerun and Karatua. If the size of the giant snakes is not scary enough, they can hunt and eat prey between 14% and 50% of their own mass. However, they can go weeks and sometimes a couple of months without food after such a large meal. Their metabolism is much faster than that of their smaller cousins, who can last even longer between feasts. Reproduction varies, even within the same species. Giant snakes are almost always solitary until the hottest months of the year, during which time the females will lay down a pheromone trail for males to follow. Though often a female will just pick a good spot where the wind can carry her pheromones for many miles and wait there, with males moving in on her location. This is often how unexpected encounters happen. Males on the move outside of their usual hunting territory and looking for an opportunistic meal of whatever game they happen to find in their path, and all too often that prey is humanoid. The absolute experts on giant snake ecology are the Yuan-ti, as you might expect, and I have read some rather eye-opening details about how many males may arrive in the female's location at the same time, and where they all swarm into a huge mating ball of coiled snakes of enormous size. Up to 12 males have been observed coiling around one female, each individual 30 to 40 feet long and as thick as an oak tree trunk, solid muscle, the lot of them. The heat from this mating swarm can be felt from a distance and can be lethal to some of the snakes involved, as they can remain in this breeding ball for up to 2 to 4 weeks. A disturbing scratching sound is caused by the male's breeding spurs, which they try to dig into the female while aggressively pressing their cloacal regions hard against her body. I won't go into further detail, but trust me to say, the Yuan-ti most certainly do, at length, with a great number of illustrations, most of which are both outrageously fanciful and completely depraved. I will spare you the memories I am now haunted by. Females are usually larger and stronger than males, probably for this very reason, and they most certainly do choose the males to mate with that they consider the largest and strongest of the males. Selecting for size is the reason their species maintains such huge proportions, even in environments that don't otherwise have the right conditions where this adaptation occurs spontaneously. Once mating is done, the female gestates for around 8 months before giving birth to live young. They do not lay eggs. Litters consist of 10 to 20 offspring, sometimes less, sometimes more, and the whole process is quite taxing to the female, who loses a significant amount of body weight. The newly birthed snakes are called neonates and are born ready to hunt and kill. They need no parental care, and some of their first meals are likely to be among their siblings. They grow quickly to around 10 feet long and reach sexual maturity well before they reach their full adult size, and it takes several years for them to get to over 30 feet long. The aquatic giant coral snakes are the fastest growing, while those that inhabit alpine regions are quite slow by comparison, due to the metabolic cost of maintaining their body heat in such cold environments. Of course, the coral snakes have plenty of supply of fish. The black-crested mountain viper of Ulgarth are spectacular looking, extremely dangerous mountain apex predators with a mane of lustrous black feathers that grow from a cobra-like hood. This layer of feathers helps keep them warm, of course, but it also makes the head very valuable and a rare trophy that is highly prized by cloud giants. There is also a few of them all the way into the Great Yehemal Mountains, where they are perhaps not feared, but certainly given a lot of respect by the equally dangerous yak folk. To give you some idea of how dangerous they truly are, one of their primary prey species are griffins. Enough said. Giant spitting snakes are found in land-based and aquatic species. They have a poisonous bite and are all capable of projecting their spittle at creatures up to 30 feet or just over 9 meters from them with a high degree of speed and accuracy. This venom will both poison and blind a victim, making them easy for the snake to maim further and then consume without a lot of risk to itself. The venom of the giant coral snakes is a bit more fearsome. Their bite is +5 to hit and inflicts 4 to 11 points of piercing damage, and the target must contend with a massive injection of venom with a saving throw difficulty of 12 against the constitution. Failing to withstand the effect can result in the target becoming instantly stunned until their next turn. Then the secondary effect of the venom kicks in and the target begins to hallucinate, the nature of which depends very much on the mind of the victim, but has an effect similar to short-term madness, and will last up to 10 minutes, which would be harrowing enough even without the fact that a giant snake is also about to eat you. Above all else, giant snakes are efficient killers. They are very stealthy and patient, but also relentless and completely merciless predators with just enough intelligence to serve their needs. All giant snakes have a highly acute sense of taste, which doubles as a sense of smell, granting them a scent-based blind sense within range of 10 feet. Many of them can see body heat thanks to sensitive pits on their head, and while the constrictor snakes may not have a poisonous bite, they still inflict 6 to 16 points of piercing damage with their fangs. How they kill is with their densely muscled body though. Constricting is +6 to hit, inflicts 6 to 20 points of bludgeoning damage, and the target is grappled, of course, with an escape difficulty of 16. Until this grapple is broken, the victim is restrained and very likely to get crushed to death quite quickly without help from an ally. The constrictors are some of the most long-lived of the giant snakes, with some reaching 60 years, while most other species rarely live past 40 years and some only live for 10. Often dying during mating or fighting among rivals. Both males and females will fight to the death during mating season, but otherwise, giant snakes stay well clear of each other. Giant sea snakes have a membrane that seals their nostrils tightly, allowing them to dive to great depths, and they can remain underwater for hours. They are one of the only giant snake breeds to have both a poisonous bite and the ability to crush victims and small boats using a constriction attack. Technically though, they are the same general type as the snakes known as vipers. We encountered a variety of the spitting snakes near the Moonshay Isles. This one was not interested in eating any of mules, that's for sure. We managed to deter it using fire, a risky venture on a wooden caravel, but it saved the lives of the captain and all but one of the crew. Now, finally, the truly exotic Amphisbaena is a species of double-headed giant snake. Still, they have a head at either end of their body, and a unique method of grabbing one head with the other and rolling their body like a hoop, which sounds silly but doubles their speed to 60 feet per round. In combat, Amphisbaena could use both heads to snap at opponents simultaneously. This enabled the monster to attack and defend at the same time. Now, one can't talk about snakes without talking about the different types of venom. It is essentially a highly toxic saliva containing zootoxins. Venom, or zootoxin, is delivered into the body actively via a bite, sting, or similar action, while poison is passively delivered by being eaten, inhaled, or absorbed through the skin, and toxogens are actively transferred to the external surface of another animal via some delivery mechanism. So a cobra that bites you will deliver venom with the bite, but if it spits, we call it poison. I know it's pedantic, but it's also precise terminology. Venoms are often complex mixtures of toxins such as necrotoxins, common among vipers. These work mostly by proteases that rip apart the peptide bonds of amino acids, so they dissolve tissue, basically causing mass cell death, a bit like being injected with acid. Neurotoxins are less common in giant snakes, but they primarily affect the nervous system of animals. Dendrotoxins are a class of presynaptic neurotoxins produced by mamba snakes that block particular subtypes of voltage-gated potassium channels in neurons, causing convulsions or very painful tension paralysis. They can cause muscles to tear free from the bone and the lungs and heart to shut down, causing death. Myotoxins are found in the rattlesnake venom and a few lizard venoms that can cause severe muscle necrosis. They are very fast-acting, often causing instant paralysis and death through the victim being unable to breathe by themselves, as their muscles just won't cause their lungs to take in air. Finally, the giant snakes you find in the grasslands and savannas, such as the gold-headed giant snakes of the Shah, which are known to be particularly violent and loud. When disturbed, they let off one hell of an ear-piercing hiss that shrieks like an Lantanese steam golem. Their powerful bite inflicts both deep piercing wounds and a secondary bludgeoning damage from the sheer force of it. The venom contains cytoxins, which cause severe hemorrhages, profuse bleeding, and swelling in some of the most lethal venom to humanoids. Very painful, causing limbs to become stiff and extended, unable to be relaxed and bent because of the internal bleeding and coagulation in joints and muscles. If not treated carefully and quickly, necrosis is widespread, very gross, and quite lethal. I would say this is the most fearsome venom. Hands down, it's a horrible way to die. Aside from being captured and transported to exotic markets, many humanoid societies make use of giant snakes. The priests of Seth are known to construct special shields by treating the shed skin of giant snakes and wrapping them around a core of ironwood. The meat of many giant snakes makes perfectly good spiced jerky that can sometimes be found in salt-packed barrels of strange oily green wood in the ports along the Dragon Coast and Vilhon Reach. I was shocked when I found out these were produced by rural marsh villagers in Haurua, but sure enough, they are. I think that just about covers the subject of giant snakes of Faerun at least. I'm no expert on the creatures and if the creatures can be trained or in any way domesticated, but I certainly know there is a good trade in live specimens among the churches of Malar, and that's usually where the kind of people who put them in dungeons to act as lethal deterrents get them from. My name is AJ Pickett. Thanks for listening, and as always, I'll be back with more for you very soon.